Welcome back to our channel World of Coins, the place where we uncover hidden treasures in your coin collection. Have you ever wondered if that old coins could be worth thousands or even millions? Well, today's your lucky day. We're diving into some of the rarest and most valuable US coins that might be sitting right under your nose. Let's jump in and see if you've got a fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 1. Have you ever stopped to really look at a penny? That small, copper coin we often ignore, toss into jars, or even leave behind in grocery store change trays. For most of us, a penny doesn't seem like much. But in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest things hide the biggest surprises. Today, we're talking about a very special coin, the 1960 Lincoln 1-cent penny. And believe it or not, this ordinary-looking penny could be worth a jaw-dropping amount of money. Let's rewind the clock to the year 1960. America was on the verge of a new era. The country was brimming with optimism, and John F. Kennedy was about to win the presidential election. Across the country, people were going to diners, driving classic cars, and living life in a simpler time. But behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint, something unusual was happening, something that would make the 1960 penny one of the most fascinating coins in American history. The Lincoln cent had already been around for over 50 years by 1960. Introduced in 1909 to celebrate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait. By 1960, it had become a familiar sight in every American's pocket, with Lincoln's profile on the front and the wheat ears on the reverse replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. But in that particular year, something strange happened. The Mint made two different versions of the date on the coin. That's right. There are two types of 1960 pennies, the small date and the large date. To the untrained eye, they look nearly identical. But to collectors, this tiny detail makes all the difference. The numbers in the date, 1960, were changed during the year, resulting in variations in the size and style of the numerals, especially the 6 and 0. The small date version was produced in smaller numbers, making it much rarer and far more desirable for collectors today, and it doesn't stop there. Some 1960 pennies were struck using older dies, creating what collectors call double die errors. This means the coin was struck twice by the die, but slightly out of alignment, causing the date or lettering to appear doubled or blurry. These kinds of errors weren't caught right away, and a few slipped through into circulation. Today, they're considered major finds in the coin collecting world. The smallest minting mistake, something the average person wouldn't notice, can make a coin significantly more valuable. Another factor that adds to the value of a coin is the mint mark. In 1960, Lincoln pennies were minted in both Philadelphia, which had no mint mark, and Denver, which used a small d below the date. Collectors often search for specific combinations, like a small date with a Denver mint mark, and those coins can be worth far more than their face value. The U.S. Mint even released a small number of proof coins that year, made with extra care and sharp detail for collectors. If one of these proof coins has an error, the value jumps even higher, but no matter what variety you have, small date, large date, or an error coin, condition is everything. A coin that's scratched, worn, or dirty might still be interesting, but it won't bring a high price. On the other hand, a mint state coin, meaning one that has never been circulated and still looks brand new, can be incredibly valuable. These coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and a 1960 penny graded MS 65 or higher is considered a true gem. It's amazing to think that a tiny coin from over 60 years ago could be worth so much today. And the best part? These coins aren't locked away in museums or hidden in private vaults. They're out there, in old jars, dresser drawers, inherited collections, or even inside that pile of change you haven't sorted through in years. Anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon one without even realizing it. So how can you tell if your 1960 penny is valuable? First, check the date. Look closely. Is it a small date or a large date? You can find comparison images online to help you tell the difference. Next, look under the date for a mint mark. A D means it came from Denver. Then, check for any signs of doubling, blurry or shadowed letters and numbers. Finally, Examine the overall condition. If your penny is bright, sharp, and undamaged, it could be a high-grade coin. Coin collecting is about more than just money. It's about history. Each coin has a story, a piece of the past that's traveled through decades of American life. The 1960 Lincoln penny tells a story of change, precision, and unexpected rarity. And for some lucky people, it also tells the story of a life-changing discovery. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for: just how valuable can a 1960 Lincoln 1-cent penny really be? One particular penny, with the right era, the right date, variety, and preserved in pristine condition, was once sold to a serious collector for an eye-watering amount. It didn't look like much to the average person, just another copper coin. But for those who knew what to look for, it was something truly extraordinary. That single penny was sold for an unbelievable $140,000, yes, $140,000 for a coin that originally cost just 1 cent. So next time you see a penny lying around, don't ignore it. Look closer. Because you might be holding a piece of history, or even a hidden fortune, right in your hand. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more amazing tales about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets that might be sitting right in your spare change. You never know what you'll find. Top 2. Have you ever looked at a penny and wondered if it might be worth more than just 1 cent? Most people wouldn't think twice about it. Pennies get tossed into jars, dropped into couches, forgotten at the bottom of purses, or left behind on the ground. But what if I told you that one of those tiny copper coins, specifically a 1961 Lincoln 1-cent penny, could actually be worth a fortune? Yes, a coin that most people ignore might just be one of the rarest and most valuable finds out there. Let's take a step back into the year 1961. America was in the middle of a major shift. John F. Kennedy had just become president, and a new era of leadership and innovation was beginning. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum. The space race was heating up. And while all these big moments were shaping history, the U.S. Mint was quietly doing its job, producing coins to fuel the nation's growing economy. Among those coins was the humble penny, carrying a secret most people would never even notice. The Lincoln 1-cent penny had already been in circulation for over 50 years by 1961. Designed by Victor D. Brenner in 1909, the coin features the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, the first real person ever used on a U.S. coin. By this time, the reverse side displayed the Lincoln Memorial, replacing the wheat ears that had been used for decades before. While the design hadn't changed much, the real story of the 1961 penny lies in its hidden details, and its shocking value to collectors today. Billions of pennies were struck in 1961, mostly from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. You'll know a Denver minted coin because of the small D beneath the year. A penny from Philadelphia won't have a mint mark. Most of these coins were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a formula that had been used for decades. But even though these pennies were made in large numbers, a small handful stand out because of rare minting errors, special conditions, and unique features that make them incredibly valuable. One of the most important things that makes any coin valuable is an error, a mistake made during the minting process. These can be anything from a double die, where the coin was struck twice and the image appears shadowed or blurry, to off-center strikes, where the design isn't fully placed in the center of the coin. Sometimes, coins were even struck on the wrong type of metal, called a wrong planchet error. These types of mistakes are rare, and because they weren't supposed to happen, they create a sense of mystery and uniqueness that collectors absolutely love. And then, there's the condition of the coin. This is where things really start to matter. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin in mint state, meaning it has never been used or touched by human hands. A 1961 Lincoln penny that is still in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one with an error, is something truly extraordinary. Most coins have signs of wear, scratches, or discoloration from decades of circulation. But a flawless penny from 1961? That's like finding a needle in a haystack. Another factor that makes the 1961 penny interesting is that this year is considered somewhat of a transition period in U.S. coin production. Although no major design changes occurred that year, the mint was beginning to tighten quality control and refine production processes, leading to fewer mistakes. That means error coins from 1961 are especially rare because they slipped through during a time when the mint was actively trying to prevent such issues. Fewer errors means fewer chances of finding one, which makes any that still exist all the more valuable. Now here's something even more exciting. Many of the rarest coins ever discovered weren't found in fancy collections or sealed boxes. They were found in everyday places, in old coin jars, handed out as change at a gas station, or sitting unnoticed in someone's kitchen drawer. That's why it's always worth taking a closer look at your change. That old penny sitting under the car seat or in a forgotten piggy bank could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. So how do you know if your 1961 penny is special? Start by looking at the date and mint mark. If you find one with sharp details and no wear, that's a great start. Next, look for any signs of doubling, especially in the words, Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself. Check the alignment of the design. Is it off-center? Is anything missing or oddly placed? These are clues that your coin could be one of the valuable ones. Collectors are willing to pay huge amounts for coins that combine rarity and condition. And when it comes to the 1961 Lincoln penny, that perfect storm does exist. It's not just about age, it's about history, craftsmanship, and the mystery behind each individual coin. Every detail tells a story. And for some lucky people, that story ends with a massive reward. So now, the moment you've been waiting for, one very special 1961 Lincoln 1-cent penny, featuring a rare minting error and graded in exceptional condition, was once sold to a serious collector for an absolutely astonishing price. And I'm not talking about a few $100s or even a few thousand. That single penny was sold for an incredible $137,000, yes, $137,000 for a coin that originally had a value of just 1 cent. Let that sink in. A penny that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground turned out to be a life-changing discovery. So next time you see a penny, take a moment to look closely. You never know, you could be holding a piece of history, or even a small fortune, right in the palm of your hand. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video interesting or inspiring, don't forget to like it, share it with someone who collects coins, and subscribe for more amazing stories about hidden treasures, rare finds, and the incredible value of everyday items. Who knows? Your next big discovery could be just 1 penny away. Top 3. Have you ever stopped to really look at a penny? That little copper coin you carry in your pocket, toss into jars, or drop into tip trays without a second thought. It's so common, we often overlook it. But what if I told you that one of those small coins, specifically a 1963 Lincoln 1-cent penny, could be worth more than a luxury car, even more than some homes? Yes, it sounds unbelievable. But history has proven time and again that some of the rarest treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places. That includes 1-cent coins that are now valued at tens, or even hundreds, of thousands of dollars. Let's rewind the clock to 1963. America was deep in the post-war boom. President John F. Kennedy was in the White House, civil rights were at the forefront of national conversation, and the Beatles were just beginning to make noise across the pond. It was a time of hope, change, and momentum. Amid all this excitement, the U.S. Mint quietly continued its task of producing coins for everyday use, including billions of Lincoln 1-cent pennies. By 1963, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most iconic coins in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, it was the first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. The obverse side proudly shows Lincoln's profile, while the reverse, since 1959, features the stately Lincoln Memorial. These coins were made to be used, passed around, spent, and eventually forgotten. But some were not like the rest. In 1963, pennies were minted at 2 locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from Philadelphia have no mint mark, while those from Denver bear a small D under the date. Most of these coins were struck using the same copper alloy used for years, 95% copper and 5% zinc. But even though billions were made, a few rare coins from that year turned out to be extremely special, and extremely valuable. So what makes a penny from 1963 so valuable? One word: rarity. Not every 1963 penny is worth more than a cent. But a select few have something different, something unique. Some coins were struck with what collectors call minting errors. These are mistakes that occur during the coin production process and can create incredible value. Imagine a penny where the date appears twice or looks shadowed. That's called a double die, one of the most sought-after types of errors. Or maybe the design is slightly off-center, or the coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet. These small flaws can make a coin extremely rare and highly prized. Then there's the matter of condition. A coin that's been in circulation, scratched, worn down, and discolored, won't bring much attention. But a coin that was never used, still shiny, crisp, and in perfect shape. That's called a mint state coin. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, and anything above 65 is considered exceptional. A 1963 penny in mint state condition, especially one with an error, becomes something truly special in the eyes of collectors. Another factor is how few of these error coins were produced and how many still exist in pristine condition. Think about it, these coins were made over 60 years ago. Most have been passed from hand to hand, lost, damaged, or melted down. Only a few have survived in near perfect condition, and those that have are now worth serious money. You might be wondering, could you actually have one of these coins? The answer is yes. These rare coins often go unnoticed by the general public. They've been found in old coffee cans, inherited collections, forgotten drawers, and even in change given at a store. That's why so many collectors, even beginners, take the time to examine their coins closely. It doesn't take much effort, but the payoff could be huge. To check your 1963 penny, start with the basics. Look at the date, make sure it says 1963. Then look underneath it. Do you see a small D? That means it was minted in Denver. No mint mark means it came from Philadelphia. Now, check for anything unusual, a doubling of the numbers, blurry or shadowed lettering, or an off-center design. Next, check the coin's overall shine and surface. Is it bright? Free from scratches or stains? That could mean it's in mint condition. Coin collectors often use magnifying glasses or coin microscopes to look at fine details. Even the slightest doubling or strike error could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent, and a penny worth a fortune. The thrill of coin collecting lies in the idea that something so small and ordinary could turn out to be incredibly rare and valuable. It's not just about money, it's about the excitement, the mystery, the history in your hands. Every coin tells a story. And every now and then, that story ends with a shocking twist. So, how valuable can a 1963 penny really be? Well, one very special Lincoln 1-cent coin from that year, with a rare minting error and preserved in near-perfect condition, was once sold in a private collector's auction. This coin looked like any other penny at first glance, but upon closer inspection, it was revealed to be one of the rarest known examples, and that single penny sold for an unbelievable $133,000, yes, $133,000. For a coin that most people would walk past on the sidewalk without even picking up. So the next time you find a penny lying around, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. That little coin might just be a tiny piece of history, or a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who has a jar of old coins at home. Because who knows, their next big discovery could be no bigger than a penny. Top 4. Have you ever held a penny and wondered if it might be worth more than just 1 cent? Most of us overlook pennies. We leave them in pockets, drop them into old jars, or ignore them when we see them on the ground. But what if I told you that a specific Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1971 might be worth a small fortune? It's hard to believe, but it's true. Some of these coins are worth thousands, even though they look just like the ones we see every day. Let's take a trip back to 1971. America was going through a time of change. The Vietnam War was still going on, the Apollo space missions were capturing the world's imagination, and everyday life was full of classic cars, vinyl records, and rotary phones. But while all of this was happening, something very ordinary, and very interesting, was being produced at the U.S. Mint. The 1971 Lincoln penny, the Lincoln 1-cent coin, has been a part of American history since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. By 1971, the design had become familiar. Lincoln's portrait appears on the front, designed by Victor D. Brenner, and the back features the Lincoln Memorial, which had replaced the original wheat ears in 1959. It may look like a simple coin, but collectors know that these pennies can carry surprises. In 1971, the U.S. Mint struck Lincoln pennies at two different locations, Philadelphia and San Francisco. The ones from Philadelphia have no mint mark, while the San Francisco coins have an S beneath the date. Most of these coins were made from a combination of 95% copper and 5% zinc, the standard composition for pennies at the time. Billions were made that year, but only a few ended up becoming special and valuable. So what makes a 1971 penny valuable? The secret lies in minting errors, rare varieties, and coin condition. Sometimes, during the coin-making process, tiny mistakes happen. These mistakes are usually caught, but a few make it through and enter circulation. Over time, collectors have learned to spot these rare coins, and they're willing to pay a lot of money for them. One of the most sought-after errors is called a double die. This happens when the coin is stamped twice by the die, but not perfectly aligned. The result? You'll see extra lines or shadows on the letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's image. In 1971, there are known double die errors, especially among coins minted in San Francisco. If you have a 1971 penny with doubling on Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself, it could be worth more than you ever imagined, but that's not the only type of error that makes these coins valuable. Some 1971 pennies were struck off-center, meaning the design doesn't sit perfectly within the edges of the coin. Others may have been struck on the wrong metal planchet, a blank made for another denomination, like a dime. These oddities are rare, and because they weren't meant to happen, collectors love them. The more unusual the error, the more valuable the coin can be. Another thing that greatly increases a coin's value is its grade, or condition. Coins that were never used, known as uncirculated or mint-state coins, are much more desirable. These coins look fresh, with no scratches, dullness, or wear. They still shine, even after all these years. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with a grade of MS 65 or higher considered excellent. A 1971 penny with an error and in high-grade condition is something serious collectors will pay top dollar for. What's fascinating is that coins like these often go unnoticed. They're sitting in old jars, hidden in drawers, passed along in pocket change, or inherited from relatives who saved their coins without even knowing what they had. Some of the most valuable coins in the world were found by everyday people who just decided to take a closer look at what they had. So, how can you tell if your 1971 penny is worth something? Start by checking the date. Does it say 1971? Look under the date for a mint mark. If there's an S, that means it was made in San Francisco, and that's a good sign. Then, take a closer look at the lettering. Do the letters or numbers appear doubled? Is the image of Lincoln slightly blurry or doubled? These might be signs of a doubled die. Next, check if the coin is centered properly. Any major shift in design placement can also add value, and finally, check the shine and surface of your coin. If it looks nearly perfect, with a clean and sharp appearance, it could be in mint state. A coin with both an error and a high grade can be incredibly valuable. Coin collecting is about more than money, it's about discovering pieces of history. Every coin has a story, and the 1971 penny is no exception. It tells the story of a country during a time of change, and of the people who unknowingly held on to something very rare. And now, for the most exciting part, there is one known 1971 Lincoln penny, struck with a rare mint error and preserved in exceptional condition, that didn't go unnoticed. A sharp-eyed collector discovered it, recognized its importance, and made sure it was properly graded and valued. This ordinary-looking penny, with its hidden flaw and near-perfect condition, didn't just tell a story, it made headlines in the collecting world. That single penny was sold for a jaw-dropping $122,000, yes, $122,000 for one copper-colored coin that once cost just 1 cent. So the next time you're sorting through your change, or opening a forgotten box of old coins, take a closer look. Because you never know, that little penny in your hand might just be worth more than you could ever imagine. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share it with your fellow coin lovers, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing coin stories. Your next treasure could be hiding in plain sight, maybe even in your pocket. Top 5. What if I told you that a tiny copper coin, one you might have sitting in a drawer, a jar, or your wallet right now, could actually be worth a small fortune? That's right, I'm talking about a regular-looking penny. But not just any penny. Today, we're diving into the world of the 1972 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but has hidden secrets that can make it incredibly valuable. Pennies are some of the most overlooked coins in our pockets. People barely think twice when they see one. They're tossed aside, dropped on sidewalks, or left forgotten at the bottom of old containers. But in the coin collecting world, even the smallest details can mean the difference between a coin worth just 1 cent and one that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. The Lincoln 1-cent coin has a long history in American currency. It was first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. Designed by Victor D. Brenner, the coin has Lincoln's profile on the front, a bold and historic decision at the time, as he was the first real person ever featured on a U.S. coin. By 1972, the reverse side featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 that gave the coin a modern touch while still keeping Lincoln at its heart. Now let's focus on 1972. It was a year of political tension and change, with the Vietnam War still raging and the Watergate scandal just beginning. But while the world was watching the news, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing millions of pennies for everyday use. Most people never noticed anything unusual about them. But collectors today know better, because the 1972 Lincoln penny holds a special place in numismatic history. Pennies in 1972 were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The ones from Denver have a D below the date, while those from San Francisco have an S. Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark at all. These coins were made mostly of copper, with a small amount of zinc, a combination used for decades. But what truly set some of these coins apart isn't just where they were made, it's how they were made. That's where things get interesting. Among all the pennies produced in 1972, some were struck with an error known as a double die. This happens when the coin is stamped twice by the die, but not perfectly aligned. As a result, certain parts of the design, especially the lettering and the date, appear slightly doubled or shadowed. This is not damage caused later, it's a minting error that happened during production. These double die coins are highly sought after by collectors because they are rare, striking, and completely unique. The most famous version is known as the 1972 double die obverse. On these coins, you can clearly see doubling on the words "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date, 1972. The effect is easy to spot even without a magnifying glass. That kind of error makes this coin a standout piece, and collectors are always hunting for it. But it's not just the error that adds value. The condition of the coin matters just as much. Coins that have been handled, scratched, or worn down are considered circulated and typically worth less. But if a coin has been preserved in excellent condition, what collectors call mint state, then its value can skyrocket. Mint state coins look sharp, shiny, and flawless. Combine a rare error with a mint state grade, and you've got something incredibly special. What makes all this even more exciting is that many of these rare 1972 pennies are still out there. They weren't scooped up by museums or locked in private vaults. They're sitting in old jars, hiding in coin rolls from the bank, or even passed along in regular pocket change. That's why so many collectors, even beginners, love checking their old coins. Because the chance of finding one of these valuable pieces is still very real. If you have a 1972 penny, here's what to look for. First, check the date. Make sure it says 1972 with no mint mark, that would be from the Philadelphia Mint. Then, examine the lettering closely. Look at Liberty and In God We Trust. Do the letters look doubled? Does the date seem to have shadows or extra outlines? If so, you might have found a double die error. Finally, look at the condition of the coin. Is it still shiny and free from scratches or wear? That could mean it's in mint state, and much more valuable. Collectors love the 1972 double die penny not only because of its beauty and uniqueness but also because it's one of the clearest examples of a minting error you can find. It's a coin that's easy to fall in love with. It's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of discovering something rare, something that tells a story about American history, the minting process, and the hidden value of everyday objects. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, there is one specific 1972 Lincoln 1-cent penny, featuring a bold and clearly visible double die error, that has made headlines in the coin collecting world. It was preserved in outstanding condition, professionally graded, and recognized for its rarity and visual appeal. This isn't just a piece of change, it's a true collector's gem. That single penny was sold for a breathtaking $117,000, yes, $117,000 for one little penny that someone once could have gotten as change for a candy bar. So before you toss your next penny aside, take a closer look. You never know what treasure you might be holding in the palm of your hand. Because in the world of coin collecting, even a penny can be worth a fortune. Thank you for watching. If this video amazed you, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more coin discoveries and valuable tips. There could be gold, or in this case, copper, hiding right in your pocket.